Good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you very much for keeping it Citizen TV. This is Citizen News in Briefs on this 13th day of October 2021. My name is Weekly Forandi. Kenya has rejected the judgment made by the International Court of Justice on the Kenya-Somalia maritime boundary case. President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is in the US, said his government will not recognize the decision he termed as not surprising. The president accused the court of unfairness and bias for refusing to allow Kenya to exhaust the regional dispute resolution mechanisms. He says Kenya will pursue a diplomatic solution to the current impasse.
At the very onset, Kenya wishes to indicate that it rejects in totality and does not recognize the findings in the decision. Kenya, like other independent countries, possesses a determined geographical territory. As a devoted member of the United Nations, the United Nations Security Council, as well as the African Union's Peace and Security Council, we call upon the rest of the family of nations to appreciate and respect our inherent right to protect by all available means our territory. So, fellow Kenyans, as your president, I want to assure you of my commitment to solve this issue amicably and urge you all to remain calm as we continue to be fully seized of this matter.
Now, ODM leader Raila Odinga has pledged to institute measures to lower the cost of living if elected next year. Raila, accompanied by his allies, held rallies at Bama Market, at the Juakali stalls in Shaurimoyo and other Kamukunji grounds. Odinga has also pledged to protect small and medium enterprises. He has called on Nairobi residents to back his unity call and back his State House bid that is expected to be formally announced later this month.
Wale ambao wanaanzisha biashara wanapewa mkopo pesa sawasawa na serikali, na wale ambao wako na deni ya elimu hiyo inafutuliwa mbali, kwa sababu taifa letu bado liko katika hali ya ufukara. Tuko na watu wengi katika jamii yetu ambao wanaishi risavuni na mijini, urban poor, ambao hawana mapato yoyote. Nataka mwe mwanajeshi wa baba, mwe na bunduki na risasi. Bunduki ni kitambulisho, risasi ni kura. Sawa? Ili baba akisema about turn, forward march, fire, 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 fire.
Now, the family of slain businessman Tob Cohen Wednesday petitioned the Public Service Commission seeking the removal of Noordin Haji from the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. Through lawyers led by Dunstan Omari and Cliff Ombeta, the family cites the unwillingness by Haji to prosecute Court of Appeal Judge Justice Sankale Ole Kantai, who was implicated by the Director of Criminal Investigations in the murder of the Dutch businessman. Now, the lawyers also faulted the DPP for failing to take action in the Kemsa scandal and throwing out the Direct Line assurance case.
The case of Direct Line. The Director of Criminal Investigation provides evidence to charge people who have failed to comply with a statutory requirement of a new law dealing with insurance companies. It is an offense, a statutory offense. The directors and shareholders should not have more than 25% of the shareholding. The lawyer for one of the accused people writes a letter to the Director of Public Prosecution and informs the Director of Public Prosecution that this matter is lying before a civil court. Out of that notice, contrary to Article 157 that says the Director of Public Prosecution cannot be directed by anybody, the Director of Public Prosecution writes a letter terminating the prosecution, charging of the directors of Direct Line.
The Director of Public Prosecution has lost his public mandate. He is no longer exercising his powers or discretion in a manner that brings confidence to his office. So, in summary, we are saying that there has been a loss of his sense of impartiality in discharging his functions, as is evident through a communication dated the 9th day of June 2021. The DPP, through his assistant, the senior counsel Dorcas Oduor, writes on behalf of the DPP that in matters involving huge sums of money or persons who are deemed to be high in the rankings of the society, he should first be consulted before these individuals are brought to book or are charged before a competent court of law. So this in itself tells us that in the eyes of the Director of Public Prosecutions, he has people who are higher in terms of their ranking, and they should be accorded a different treatment in the manner in which, if police officers are to arrest or if they are to be charged before a competent court of law.
60% of the files that have been sent to the by the DCI to him to make conclusions and to give directions, he has given nothing. 60% of the files, they are increasing day by day. If we have this person in office tomorrow, the files keep on increasing. Is it because he has decided that he's going to have a personal war with the Director of Criminal Investigation? Or is it because of competence? Or is it the lack of the willpower? Any of the three, pick them at random. Pick them at random. Still make him look bad. We need confidence in that office. If we do not have confidence in that office, then the public has been failed.
Moving on now, Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i says no amount of resistance will stop the reforms that have begun at Kenya Power. Speaking during a meeting with the committee appointed to implement recommendations of the Presidential Task Force, Matiang'i said KPLC managers trying to forestall the proposed changes will be checked with permissible ruthlessness.
The ministry will take the lead in making sure that this implementation is done timeously and the effect of it are felt by the Republic of Kenya citizens.
In the coming days, you will see significant changes in the sector, significant changes in the cost of fuel. You know, we are targeting significant changes in the cost of power and streamlining and bringing about greater efficiency in the manner in which these organizations work.
Now, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has launched voter registration in institutions of higher learning, calling on the long students to embrace their civic duty. Speaking at the University of Nairobi at the launch of the IEBC sensitization program, Vice Chair Juliana Cherera challenged the young people to overcome the voter apathy and complainants against political governance, saying they have the power to define the future they desire.
I'm very delighted that you thought about lawyer wa association wa wanafunzi.
Such mentors talking to you and guided youth for the huge. Who will fundraise?
Usibaki nyuma. Kule mtaani tunasema IEBC iko mtaani. Lakini nataka leo mnipatie slogan yenu. Tutasema IEBC iko wapi? Chuoni.
It will be very, very sad to hear that the youth have actually taken a back seat. It is very, very sad. And therefore, I think it's the time to reflect. It's a time to wake up. It's a time to make this clarion call. It's a time to convince the other youths so that they can come in large numbers and register, knowing that if you do so, then come next year, you will actually be responsible for determining your future.
Now to a rather disturbing story, Masten Wanjala, the self-confessed serial killer behind the murder of more than 10 minors, has escaped from police custody. Wanjala was being held at Jogoo Road Police Station here in Nairobi, where he escaped under unclear circumstances. According to a police report on the incident, an officer who reported on duty at 7 a.m. today noticed that Wanjala was missing. The 20-year-old suspect was set to take plea today before his escape. Last month, detectives confirmed that Wanjala had killed 4 minors in Bungoma, bringing to 13 the number of his victims. Cases of gender-based violence may be handled more efficiently and effectively following the launch of the Polycare policy document, which provides a roadmap on how cases are handled. The policy seeks to have a one-stop shop for services that gender-based violence survivors need. Speaking at the launch, First Lady Margaret Kenyatta lauded NPS for the policy, which she termed as progressive. Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i called on all stakeholders to work together to ensure survivors get justice.
Karanja Kibishu, General of National Police Services, Esther Passaris, and the honorable members who are present. Your Excellency, allow me.
The Polycare that we launched today is part of that process of transforming the ideology of policing the country so that the police are the go-to people and the police is the one institution you should go for all manner of help.
Every survivor who stood here, I could say, stands for over 1,000 people. I am sure that is not the country we would want to have, and that's why the government has put a multi-agency forum or framework to coordinate gender-based violence, being informed by the research that was done by National Crime Center.
This initiative, therefore, amplifies our national commitment to ending all forms of gender-based violence by 2026 and female genital mutilation by 2022. It also aligns with the commitments made during the 25th anniversary conference on the International Conference on Population and Development, Nairobi Summit, to end female genital mutilation by strengthening coordination on legislation and policy framework, communication, advocacy, and evidence generation on elimination of FGM.